Hey everyone, today is August 26th, 2019, and here's today's Monday Morning Minute. For today, I'll cover a few topics. These will be pretty routine throughout the course of the semester. I'll briefly recap last week's readings. I'll touch on this week's readings and some things to think about as you explore them. And then I'll end by discussing our assignment for this week, which is our first critical response. So last week we had 3 chapters in total, and they all were designed to really get you deeply into this question of what is classroom management. And hopefully through reading these 3 different chapters, you have a sense of just how comprehensive it really is. It's much more than simply disciplining students. So from the first E&E chapter, they kind of introduce you to their approach to the book, which is giving you a behind-the-scenes world of classroom management. So they mentioned that, for instance, many of us, growing up in public schools, we have experienced classroom management kind of on one end, but it's an entirely different experience to envision it from the lens of a teacher or an administrator. And importantly, they point out that their major goal here in terms of structuring a classroom around strong classroom management principles is on student cooperation and not mere passive compliance. I think that's a really huge point, and one that I can personally speak to in my own experience teaching middle school for many years. So moving on to our J&J text, the first chapter, just a couple things that jumped out to me as I was rereading them. First of all, that they point out, and as you can probably tell, they are very invested in the literature, the research done on classroom management. And I love that they give so many different examples from research, and they always provide the in-text citations. So if you ever have a question about a study, you know exactly where you can go to actually read the study yourself. But they bring up a study in which it was found that 4 out of 5 disruptive students can actually, that disruption can be traced to something that is not at all to do with the student and is more to do with the way that the school is organized, the way that the teacher has organized the classroom, and often poorly at that. They also introduce their 5 principles of classroom management that really serve to structure the text as a whole. And if you'll notice, when you look at those 5 principles of classroom management, very few of them, I think only 1 out of the 5, has to do with quote unquote disciplining students, like what to do when students misbehave. It is much more about what you can do to prevent students misbehaving from the get-go, right? And I think that's also, again, something really important to internalize. And then finally, near the end of the first chapter, they bring up the importance of being a teacher researcher, which is a lens that I think is really empowering for us as educators to take on. And it really just involves asking questions about your practices, asking questions when you see that students are misbehaving. And so instead of, relying on some kind of draconian or authoritative management scheme, you might think, okay, what is going on? What have I done that might have necessitated or kind of given rise to this situation? So kind of having that sense of inquiry and applying it to your classroom is another approach that I want us to take through the rest of the course. And then also, and I'm trying to make sure you guys can see this, in the second chapter of the J&J book, they focus mainly on students' basic physiological and psychological needs, and more so the psychological piece. And they go into depth about what are called, personal needs theories. And these basically hold that when students misbehave, it's because there are needs of theirs that are simply not being met or addressed. And I also love that they really dug deeply into special populations. And they talk about, for instance, the importance of culturally responsive pedagogy and management. They also talk about immigrant students specifically and how it might require us to go a little bit further than just what needs are not being met, to also understanding who our students are. So for this week's readings, there's a phrase that is brought up actually in both texts, the chapters from both texts that we're reading this week. And it's this phrase, warm demanders. And it's attributed in the J&J text to Kleinfeld. And this is just the idea that maybe for some of us, what we want to strive to be in our classrooms where classroom management is concerned is a warm demander, someone who builds really positive relationships with students and also demands a lot of them in terms of their academic prowess, right? So we're not lapsing on our expectations for students. Rather, we're using our warmth, we're relying on that relationship in order to allow students to reach their full potential. They also bring up Nell Noddings, who's a really fantastic and well-known philosopher of education, and they go into depth about her view of moral education based on 4 components of what she calls caring. So take a look at that, spend some time on those definitions as well. I think this is, again, kind of another fruitful direction for our thinking. They also bring up the necessity of being open with your students, and they mention that there are many different ways. They list at least 3 that you can think of openness. And they have some cool case studies and examples to show you what that might look like. But the bottom line here is that all that they're talking about is in the service of caring for students and not just caring about students. And indeed, that is our focus this week, right? Teacher and student relationships. So what does it mean to care for students? And also this week we'll be reading chapter 2 from the E&E text. And there are just kind of a few takeaways that I want us to think about as we dive into this chapter specifically. First of all, I love that they point out that there are many different ways to build relationships. There are 2 vignettes at the start of the chapter, I think pages 12 and 13. And I think they speak to different styles that people have in the classroom. Not everyone is overtly charismatic and just kind of the life of the party. And that's totally okay. You can still build positive teacher and student relationships just being who you are. And I think as an introvert, that was something that was really hard for me to grasp at the start of my teaching career. But once I realized that kind of my own way into building these relationships, a way that felt authentic and not as much of a strain on my introversion, I was really successful. They also touch on this balance of what they call influence and affect, and they talk about how these are both kind of the critical factors that determine the quality of the relationship that you'll have with your students. And then finally, they talk about the importance of self-management, so managing our own reactions to things, recognizing that the ways in which we react to students is part and parcel of kind of what they will reflect to us, right? When we treat students disrespectfully, we will get that back from students, right? And so I think that's another kind of critical piece to think about as we reflect on our relationships with our students. All right, and then for this week, and hopefully you can see this, I'm trying this with the little bubble at the bottom right so that you can see my face. But this may not be super effective going forward, so let me know. But for this week, we have our very first critical response due. So the way that these critical responses are going to work is that you will post your initial response, which is 300 to 400 words, and you'll post that by Thursday of each critical response week. And then by Sunday, go back into the discussion and follow up with at least 2 of your colleagues. And I'll be in the discussion too. So, I'll be there making sure that y'all are having a good discussion and contributing as I see fit too. And for this week, I've posted 2 questions that I'd like you to address with this critical response. And so the first is, why, according to our authors, are teacher-student relationships so important? And they give a ton of reasons across both. Again, like very, very deeply steeped in research. So you can think about this as maybe the reasons that are most compelling to you for why these teacher-student relationships are important. And then the second question I'd like you to address is, which recommended strategies or approaches are most interesting or implementable for you and your context? So I know we're coming from a lot of different contexts in this class. So when you were reading through their examples of how to build positive relationships with students, maybe some didn't seem necessarily appropriate. Maybe some didn't necessarily seem as though they fit kind of with your own identity as a teacher. But which ones might? Which ones were interesting? You can just share with us a little bit about those. And just quickly to show you where to go to post this critical response. Well, first of all, here's our learning modules. Remember, this is kind of our guide to the topics we'll be covering and also what's due that week. Then if you go over here to discussions, you can scroll down to our critical response 1. I've posted these questions again. And there's a rubric there in case that's helpful as you design and craft your response. All right, everyone, I am so excited to see what you think about this week's chapters. I'm excited to get to know more about each of you, like through our responses and discussions. If you have any questions, of course, at any point, just let me know. All right, see you soon.